I stopped counting the days after the third month. Not because I lost track, but because knowing didn't matter anymore. Time on Vorne Prime had become meaningless, just a series of moments between explosions, between screams, between watching people you knew yesterday become bodies you stepped over today. My name is Kai Moreno, Sergeant, 3rd Battalion, Colonial Defence Force, 26 years old, though I felt twice that. I'd been on Vorne Prime for 8 months when everything fell apart. When the Tharan fleet arrived and turned our sky into fire. They say war changes you. That's not quite right. War doesn't change you. It strips you down to what you always were underneath. And what I found under my skin was anger. So much anger, I could taste it like copper in my mouth every morning. My brother died in the first wave, Marcus, 2 years younger than me, always smiling, always the one who believed humanity could talk its way out of anything. He was a medic, unarmed, wore the Red Cross on his helmet like it meant something. The Tharan didn't care about symbols. I found him 3 days after the initial bombardment in what used to be the civilian hospital on the city's north side. The building had collapsed. Most of it was just rubble and twisted metal, but I recognized his boots, the ones with the scuff mark on the left heel from when he tripped during training and laughed about it for weeks. I didn't dig him out. Couldn't. The rubble was too unstable, and we were still under fire. So I left him there, left my brother buried under concrete and broken glass while I walked away to kill more of them. That's when the anger started. That's when I stopped being Kai and became something else. Something that could pull a trigger without hesitation. Something that could watch alien bodies burn and feel nothing but satisfaction. For months, that anger kept me alive. The colony was dying. Everyone knew it. Command stopped pretending we were holding the line and started calling it strategic delay, which was just a fancy way of saying we were buying time for the evacuation ships to get as many civilians off-world as possible before the Tharan glassed the whole planet. We fought in the ruins, street by street, building by building, sometimes room by room. The city, New Brecca they'd called it, was unrecognizable now. The towers that used to gleam in the sunlight were broken teeth jutting from the ground. The parks where families used to walk were craters. The market district where I'd bought coffee every morning was a burned-out skeleton of metal frames and melted plasteel. Everything smelled like smoke, like chemicals, like death. My squad was down to 4. I started with 12. Lost Rodriguez in week 2, stepped on a mine. Chen took shrapnel during an ambush in week 5. Davis died of infection after we ran out of antibiotics. The others. I tried not to think about the others. Morrow, Jackson, Park, and me. That's all that was left. We'd set up in an old residential building, or what remained of it. 3rd floor, good sightlines, enough intact walls to provide cover. We took shifts on watch, slept when we could, ate rations that tasted like cardboard, and waited for orders that came less and less frequently. "Think the evac ships will come back for us?" Jackson asked one night. He was 19. Still had that optimism you only get when you haven't seen enough death yet. "No," I said. Morrow looked at me but didn't argue. She was older, 30-something, career military. She knew how this worked. "Command will extract VIPs and essential personnel. Rest of us, we're the delay, remember?" Park just cleaned his rifle. He didn't talk much anymore. None of us did. The Tharan pushed closer every day. You could hear them at night, the clicking sounds they made, communicating in ways we didn't fully understand. Their weapons hummed with a frequency that made your teeth ache. And when they died, they screamed, high-pitched, almost human. I'd killed 17 of them by my count, maybe more. Hard to tell sometimes in the chaos. I told myself each one was for Marcus, told myself that anger burning in my chest was justice, told myself a lot of things to avoid admitting what I really felt, which was nothing, just emptiness. like someone had scooped out everything that made me a person and left behind this hollow thing that knew how to fight and not much else. Then came the day I found the alien in the rubble. It was mid-afternoon when we got orders to scout the eastern sector, reports of enemy movement, possible forward position being established, standard reconnaissance, go in quiet, observe, report back, don't engage unless necessary. We moved through the ruins carefully. The streets were treacherous, collapsed buildings, exposed rebar, unexploded ordnance. Every shadow could hide a threat. Every sound could be an ambush. The sector was quiet, too quiet. "I don't like this," Morrow whispered. "Where are they?" "Maybe they pulled back," Jackson said hopefully. "They don't pull back," Park muttered. He was right. The Tharan didn't retreat. They advanced, or they died. That was it. We split up to cover more ground. I took the south side, moving through what used to be someone's home. The walls were still partially standing. Family photos hung crooked on what remained of the living room wall. A child's toy, some kind of stuffed animal, sat on a chair, covered in dust and ash. I wondered if they'd made it to the evacuation ships. I hope they have. That's when I heard it. A sound. Faint. Coming from beneath a collapsed section of the building's second floor. I raised my rifle, moving closer. The sound came again. A clicking, but different from the Tharan communication patterns. More. Desperate. I climbed over a pile of debris, careful not to disturb the precarious balance of broken concrete and twisted metal, and there, pinned under a section of collapsed ceiling, was a Tharan. I should have shot it immediately. That was protocol. That was smart. That was what you did when you found the enemy wounded and helpless. I aimed my rifle at its head. Tharan looked at me, and I mean really looked at me, not with the cold, insectoid stare I'd seen in combat, but with something that looked like fear, like pain. It was smaller than the ones I'd fought, maybe younger. Its chitinous armor was cracked in several places, leaking that blue-green fluid they had instead of blood. One of its limbs was bent at an unnatural angle, pinned, trapped. It made that clicking sound again, softer this time, and I heard words. Not English, not anything I understood, but the meaning was clear. Please. My finger was on the trigger. All I had to do was pull it. One more dead alien, one more small piece of revenge for Marcus, for everyone we'd lost. But I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was broken. Maybe somewhere in that hollow space inside me, there was still a piece of the person I used to be. The person Marcus would have recognized. I lowered my rifle. The Tharan stopped clicking, just stared at me with those multifaceted eyes that reflected my face back at me 100 times. "Don't make me regret this," I said quietly. I checked the surroundings. No sign of other Tharan, no sign of my squad, just me and this wounded enemy in the ruins of someone's home. I should have walked away, should have reported it, should have done anything other than what I did next. I started clearing the debris. It took 20 minutes to free the alien's pinned limb. The whole time, it watched me. Didn't try to attack. Didn't try to escape. Just watched with that expression I couldn't quite read. When the last piece of concrete came away, the Tharan pulled its damaged limb free. The blue-green fluid was still leaking. It would need treatment, or it would die from that alone. "Can you walk?" I asked, then felt stupid for asking. It probably didn't understand me. But the Tharan moved. Slowly, painfully, it pulled itself upright on its remaining functional limbs. It was taller than me when standing, maybe 7 feet, but hunched over in pain. We were almost the same height. I looked around. About 50 meters away was an old bunker, civilian emergency shelter that had been abandoned early in the war, partially collapsed, but the entrance was still accessible. "Come on," I said, gesturing, "before someone sees us." I don't know if it understood the words or just the gesture, but the Tharan followed me. We moved slowly, the alien dragging its injured limb, me scanning constantly for any sign of my squad or enemy patrols. We reached the bunker. The entrance was narrow, designed for humans, not for 7-foot-tall aliens with multiple limbs. But the Tharan managed to squeeze through. Inside, the bunker was dark and damp. Emergency lights had long since failed, but there was enough dim light filtering through cracks in the ceiling to see by. The Tharan collapsed against the far wall, that blue-green fluid pooling beneath it. I pulled out my medkit. Basic stuff, bandages, coagulants, painkillers, designed for humans, but maybe... "I don't even know if this will work on you," I said, approaching slowly. "But you're going to bleed out if we don't try something." The Tharan didn't resist as I examined the wound. Up close, I could see the damage was worse than I'd thought. The limb wasn't just broken, it was partially severed, shrapnel embedded in the wound, probably from our artillery. We did this. Humans did this. I applied coagulant to the worst of the bleeding. The Tharan made a sound, not quite a scream, but close. I worked fast, using bandages to wrap the limb and stabilize it. "Best I can do," I said when I finished. "Might buy you a few more days." "Maybe." The Tharan was silent for a moment. Then it made a sound, different from before, almost like words. "K, thank." I froze. "You understand me?" Another pause. Then, "Some. Learn. From." It struggled with the words. Broadcasts. Before war. Jesus Christ, it spoke English. Broken, halting, but recognizable. "What's your name?" I asked. Then I realized how absurd that was. Like we were meeting at a social function instead of hiding in a bunker while our species tried to exterminate each other. The Tharan's mandibles moved in a way that might have been an attempt at human speech. "Thel. Not exact. Your sounds... difficult." "Thel," I repeated. "I'm Kai. K-I. Close enough." We sat there in the darkness of that bunker, a human soldier and an alien enemy, while outside the war continued. And for the first time in months, I felt something other than anger. I felt afraid. Not an alien, but of what I'd just done, of what it meant, of what would happen if anyone found out. "I need to get back to my squad," I said finally. "They'll notice I'm gone." Thel nodded, or at least made a gesture that seemed like understanding. I'll come back, tonight. Bring water, food if I can." I stood up, then paused. "Don't try to leave. And don't make noise. If anyone finds you here." I didn't finish the sentence. We both knew what would happen. I climbed back out of the bunker and made my way back to the rendezvous point. Morrow was waiting, looking annoyed. "Where the hell were you?" "Got turned around in the rubble." "Sorry." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Sector's clear. No enemy activity. We're heading back." As we walked back to our position, I could feel Jackson watching me, like he knew something was off, but he didn't ask, and I didn't volunteer. That night, while the others slept, I snuck out. I told myself it was just to make sure the alien was dead, that the wounds had finished what we'd started, that I was just checking. But that was a lie. The truth was simpler and more complicated. I'd spent 8 months learning to hate, learning to see the Tharan as things to be destroyed, as the reason Marcus was dead, as the enemy. But in that moment in the ruins, when I looked at Thel pinned and helpless and afraid, I saw something I hadn't expected. I saw a person, and I couldn't unsee it. For 3 days, I kept my secret. Every night, after my squad was asleep, I'd slip out and make my way to the bunker. I brought water from our supplies, rations I could spare, medical supplies I claimed I needed for personal use. Thel was still alive, still weak, but the wounds were stabilizing. The coagulant had worked well enough to stop the worst of the bleeding. We didn't talk much at first, just sat in that darkness. 2 beings from different worlds, sharing silence. On the second night, Thel asked me a question. Why help? I didn't have a good answer. I don't know. I am enemy. Yeah. You should kill me. Yeah. Silence. Then I asked, why did you come here? To Vorne Prime. Why invade? Thel was quiet for a long time. When it finally spoke, its voice was even more halting than usual. Not choice, orders, survival. Survival? You're trying to exterminate us! No. Thel shifted, and I saw pain in the movement. You not understand. We, desperate, homeworld, dying, centuries of resource depletion. We search, new home, found this system, found you. So you decided to take it by force. No. First, we try, communicate, send ambassadors, offer coexistence, share the planet. I stared at the alien in the darkness. That's a lie. You attacked without warning. No. Thel's voice was firmer now, clearer. We sent signals, messages, for months. Your leaders, they ignore, they fear, they see us as threat, not people. Thel's mandibles moved. Then your military, they find our scout ships and they destroy them, all of them, hundreds dead, no warning, no mercy. That can't be. But even as I said it, doubt crept in, because I'd heard the rumors, whispers among the troops about first contact, about decisions made above our pay grade, about opportunities missed. Your people, Thel continued, they declare us invaders, enemy, must be destroyed. Our leaders, they have no choice, fight or die, so we fight. You're lying. Why lie? I am here, dying. You will kill me or leave me. Truth changes nothing. I sat there, processing, trying to reconcile what Thel was saying with everything I'd believed for 8 months, with the anger I'd nursed, with Marcus's death. My brother died in your first attack, I said quietly. Many die. Humans, Tharan, all die, because leaders cannot see past fear. I watched him burn. I watch Nest siblings burn in your orbital strike on Homeworld. Thel's voice cracked. Hundreds of thousands, civilians, young ones, all burn because your species decide we are a threat. I wanted to argue, wanted to insist that we were the victims, that they started this, that everything we'd done was justified, but the words wouldn't come, because deep down I was starting to realize something terrible, that maybe, just maybe, there were no good guys in this war, just scared, desperate beings making terrible choices and calling it survival. How old are you? I asked. Cycles, not the same, but by your measure, young. 17, maybe. 17, younger than Jackson, just a kid sent to fight someone else's war. I'm 26, I said, old. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Not that old. We sat in silence for a while, then Thel spoke again. You have nestmate? Partner? No, never had time. Joined the military at 18, been deployed ever since. I paused. What about you? No. Chosen for warrior caste, before bonding age, trained to fight. Nothing else. Same, I said quietly. Trained to fight. Told who the enemy was. Never asked why. This war. It is... Thel struggled for the word. Wrong. All of it. Wrong. Yeah. But we... Just soldiers. Follow orders. What else? Can we do it? I don't know, I admitted. I really don't know. On the 4th night, I brought something different, not rations or medical supplies. I brought a photo. It was bent and faded. I'd been carrying it in my pocket for months. Marcus and me, taken 2 years ago before deployment, both in uniform, both smiling. Marcus's arm around my shoulder. The last day I saw him happy. I showed it to Thel. My brother. Marcus. Thel studied the photo carefully. He looks like you. Younger. He was younger. By 2 years. Always looked up to me. Always wanted to be like me. My voice cracked. And I got him killed. How? You kill? I convinced him to join, told him it would be an adventure, that we'd see the galaxy together, keep each other safe. I stared at Marcus's face in the photo. He signed up because I did, died because I did. Not your fault. War, fault. Leaders, fault. I should have protected him. He chose. Like you choose, like I choose. We all choose to be here. Thel paused. Guilt, change nothing, but maybe teach something. What could it possibly teach? That life, precious, all life, humans, Theron, all precious, and war, waste. I tucked the photo back in my pocket. Pretty philosophy from someone who's been shooting at us for 8 months. Not philosophy, truth. You help me, because you learn, even in war, can see the truth. Thel's mandibles moved. That's why you're different. You see me, not an enemy, person. I shouldn't have, but you do. Cannot unsee. Thel was right. I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't go back to thinking of the Theron as mindless killers because I'd sat with one in the darkness, listened to its story. I watched it struggle with pain and fear and hope, seen its humanity, or whatever the Theron equivalent was. I need to tell you something, I said. The evacuation is almost complete. Once the last civilian ships are gone, Command is pulling all remaining military assets off-world. Then they're going to glass the planet from orbit, sterilize it, make sure nothing survives. When? Week, maybe less. Thel was silent. You need to leave, I continued. Find your people. Get off this planet before... Cannot. What? I am marked. Deserter. Run from battle. If I return, execution, death, dishonor. You were wounded, trapped. Does not matter. Law is absolute. Return means death. Stay, also death. Choice is when, how. I stared at the alien, at this young soldier who was going to die no matter what, just like I probably was, just like we all were. There has to be another way. No, war has only one ending, death. Thel looked at me. But thank you for seeing me, for making the last days less alone. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just sat there in the darkness with my enemy, my friend, this impossible connection that shouldn't exist. And I wondered if maybe Marcus would have done the same thing if he'd been given the chance. I like to think he would have. I got careless. That's what I tell myself anyway. That I made a mistake, let my guard down. I wasn't as careful as I should have been. But the truth is darker than that. The truth is part of me wanted to get caught. I wanted someone else to make the decision for me. I wanted this impossible situation to resolve itself so I didn't have to keep choosing between my humanity and my duty. It was Jackson who followed me. I'd slipped out of our position just after midnight, same as I had for the past week. I thought everyone was asleep. Thought I'd been careful enough. I wasn't. Jackson must have noticed, must have gotten suspicious, must have followed me through the ruins to that bunker where Thel was waiting, and he must have gone back and told the others, because when I returned to our position 2 hours later, they were all awake, all staring at me. Want to tell us where you've been going every night? Morrow asked. Her voice was cold, professional, the kind of cold you only get when you're about to do something you know is necessary but won't feel good about. Patrol, I lied. Can't sleep. Figure I might as well make myself useful. Bullshit, Park said. Jackson followed you last night. Saw you enter that bunker in the southern sector. Saw you talking to something inside. My stomach dropped. I can explain. You've been aiding the enemy, Morrow interrupted. That's treason, Kai. That's a capital offense. It's not like that. Just listen. No. She stood up, rifle in hand. We're going to that bunker. Right now, we're going to terminate the threat. And then, we're going to report what you've done to command. They'll decide what happens to you. Morrow, please. Move, Sergeant. That's an order. I thought about running, thought about fighting. I thought about a dozen different ways this could go. But I was exhausted. So exhausted. And maybe part of me knew this was inevitable. That secrets like mine couldn't stay buried forever. So I walked with them back to the bunker. The sun was starting to rise. The ruins of New Brecker cast long shadows across the rubble-strewn streets. In the distance, I could hear the sounds of war, explosions, gunfire, the hum of Tharan weapons. We reached the bunker. Morrow gestured for me to go in first. Call it out. Tell it to come out. Hands, or whatever it has, visible. I looked at her, at Jackson, who wouldn't meet my eyes, at Park, whose expression was unreadable. Don't do this, I said quietly. Please, just let me. Now, Kai, or we go shooting. I turned to the bunker entrance. Thel, it's me. You need to come out. Slowly. Silence. Then movement. Thel emerged from the darkness, moving carefully on its damaged limb. It saw my squad, saw their weapons raised, and stopped. Ki, it said. Friends? No, Morrow said. Not friends. She raised her rifle. Wait! I stepped between them. Just wait. Let me explain. Thel is... Thel. Jackson's voice was sharp. You gave it a name? Jesus Christ, Kai, what's wrong with you? It's a person. Listen to me. It's the enemy, Park said flatly. It's killed our people. And you've been protecting it. Because it hurts. Because it's just a kid trying to survive, same as us. It's not a kid, Morrow said. It's not same as us. It's Tharan. It's what killed Rodriguez, and Chen, and Davis, and your brother. The words hit like a physical blow. Marcus has nothing to do with this. He has everything to do with this. Morrow's voice cracked. You think I don't know? You think I haven't watched you for 8 months, carrying that anger, that hate, and now you're protecting one of them? How does that honor him? How does that honor any of them? This isn't about honor. This is about... I didn't finish the sentence, because Park hit me, hard. I went down, tasting blood. When I looked up, Morrow had her rifle aimed at Thel. No! I tried to get up, but Jackson pinned me down. Don't! Please! Morrow's finger was on the trigger, and Thel just stood there, not fighting, not trying to run, just accepting. Ki, it said quietly, is okay. You try. That enough. It's not enough, I screamed. It's not. The gunshot cut me off. Thel stumbled back, blue-green fluid spraying from its torso. It collapsed against the bunker wall, sliding down slowly. No! I threw Jackson off me, scrambling toward Thel. No, no, no! I reached the alien. The wound was bad, really bad. Morrow had aimed for center mass, probably ruptured multiple internal organs or whatever the Tharan equivalent was. Thel, stay with me. We cannot fix. Thel's voice was weak, fading. You know, this. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I should have. You give gift these days, seeing me, not enemy, person. Thel's mandibles moved weakly. That gift, no one else. Give. I should have done more, should have saved you. You did. You save. What matters, you see, truth. Thel's eyes started to dim. Tell others. Tell truth. Maybe they see, too. Thel, thank K.I. for friend. The light went out of its eyes. I knelt there in the dirt, covered in blue-green blood, holding the body of an alien I'd known for less than a week, and I screamed until my throat was raw, until there was nothing left inside me but emptiness. Behind me, I heard Morrow's voice, distant, clinical. Command, this is Sergeant Morrow. We have a situation, requesting immediate extraction and military tribunal. Subject, Sergeant Kai Moreno. Charge, treason and aiding enemy combatants. I didn't fight when they put me in restraints, didn't resist when they led me away. I just looked back once, at the bunker, at Thel's body lying in the entrance, at the waste of it all. The tribunal took 6 hours. I didn't mount a defense, didn't argue, just sat there while they read the charges, presented evidence, rendered judgment. Dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of all military benefits, permanent record as a traitor. They could have executed me, probably should have, but the war was ending. The evacuation was complete, and they needed every transport ship for equipment, not trials. So they just let me go. Dropped me off in the ruins of New Brecker with nothing but the clothes on my back, and told me I had 48 hours before the orbital strike. After that, I was on my own. I didn't try to leave. I wandered through the dead city instead. Through the streets I'd patrolled, past buildings I'd fought in, through the ruins of lives that used to be. The Tharan were gone, pulled out when they realized humanity was about to sterilize the planet. Even they had limits to how many soldiers they'd sacrifice for a worthless rock. So it was just me, alone, in the corpse of a world. I found myself back at the hospital, the one where Marcus died. The rubble was exactly as I'd left it months ago. Nothing had changed. His boots were still visible, that scuff mark on the left heel still there. I sat down beside him. I fucked up, I said to his grave. I know you'd probably be disappointed. You always believed in doing the right thing, in seeing the best in people. And I lost that. For so long, I lost that. The wind blew through the ruins, carrying ash and dust. I met someone, a Tharan, young, scared, just trying to survive. I laughed bitterly. I helped them, and they killed them for it. And now I don't know. I don't know what any of it meant. Silence. I think maybe you would have helped too, if you'd been there, if you'd seen what I saw. I wiped my eyes. You always were better at being human than I was. I stayed there for hours, talking to my dead brother, asking questions he couldn't answer. When the sun started to set, I stood up. I'm not leaving, I said. The ships are gone. The war's over, and I can't go back. Can't pretend this didn't happen. Can't go back to a world where I'm the traitor and they're the heroes. I looked up at the sky, at the stars starting to appear in the dusk. I'm staying here, with you, with Thel, with everyone else who died for this pointless fucking war. I smiled sadly. Maybe that's what forgiveness looks like. Not moving on, not forgetting, just staying, bearing witness, making sure someone remembers. The next day, I returned to the bunker. Thel's body was still there. The scavengers hadn't found it yet. Maybe they never would. I buried it, or tried to. The ground was too hard for a proper grave, so I just covered it with rubble, made a cairn, marked the spot where a person had died trying to believe enemies could be friends. I sat beside it as the sun set on the last day before the strike, and I thought about everything that had led me here, every choice, every moment, every opportunity to be better that I'd missed. You were right, I said to the grave. I couldn't unsee it, couldn't go back to hating, and that's not nothing, I guess. The stars came out, beautiful, indifferent. I hope wherever you are, Thel, I hope you know you mattered, that those days in the bunker mattered, that you weren't just another casualty. I paused. I hope you know someone saw you, really saw you, and you changed them. I lay down beside the grave. I closed my eyes and waited for the fire. It didn't come that night, or the next day. A week passed, then another. The orbital strike never happened. Turns out the war had ended differently than anyone expected. Not with genocide, but with exhaustion. Both sides pulled back, stopped shooting, started talking. A fragile peace, barely peace at all. More like a pause, a moment to breathe and count the dead and wonder if maybe there was another way. I learned this from a rescue team that arrived 3 weeks after I was abandoned. "You're the last one," the medic told me as they loaded me onto their transport. "Last human on Vorne Prime. We've been searching for weeks. I didn't tell them I hadn't been trying to be found. They brought me back to human space, processed me through a dozen bureaucratic systems, tried to figure out what to do with a dishonorably discharged soldier who'd somehow survived when he wasn't supposed to. Eventually, they just let me go. Gave me a small stipend and a one-way ticket to wherever I wanted. I chose Sanctuary Station, a neutral outpost on the border between human and Tharan space, one of the few places where both species were trying, really trying, to coexist. I got a job in maintenance. Nothing glamorous, just fixing things, keeping systems running, useful without being important. And sometimes, late at night when my shift ended, I'd go to the observation deck and look out at the stars. I'd think about Marcus, about Thel, about all the people on both sides who died for a war neither of them wanted. And I'd wonder if it meant anything. If those days in the bunker changed anything. If one person seeing another person could somehow impossibly matter. I don't have answers, but I have something else. Something Thel gave me in those final moments. Forgiveness. Not forgiveness for the war, not forgiveness for the deaths, not forgiveness for all the ways both our species failed, but forgiveness for trying, for seeing, for choosing mercy when hate was easier. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can do. See each other, really see each other, not as enemies or allies or threats or assets, but as people, scared, desperate, doing our best with impossible choices. Maybe that's what it means to be human. Not the absence of failure, but the presence of effort, the willingness to try even when we know we'll probably fail. I live with my guilt, carry it every day like a weight I'll never put down. But I also live with something else, hope. That somewhere, in some future I won't live to see, someone will remember. We'll learn from our mistakes. We'll choose mercy over hate. We'll see enemies and recognize people. And maybe, just maybe, they'll do better than we did. That's what I tell myself anyway. That's what keeps me going. Sometimes the weight of what we've done is too heavy to carry. Sometimes the people we save can't be saved. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't come from the ones we hurt, but from ourselves, for trying, even when we fail. Especially when we fail, because that's what makes us human. Not our victories, but our willingness to see each other, even in war, especially in war. What would you have done? If you found your enemy bleeding in the rubble, would you pull the trigger, or would you try to save them? Think about it, because someday, somehow, you might have to choose.